Hi there, welcome to the halftime huddle. Halfway through the week, it's Mark Webb here from A Game. If you haven't seen us before, oh, here we go. This is where technical goes wrong. I've got something going on in the background. See, live, all kinds of things go on. If you stumbled across this, and you don't know where you are, then welcome. This is the halftime huddle. We meet midday through the Wednesday, which is hump day, halfway through the week. It's an opportunity to take a little bit of a breath. And we've been spending some quality time talking to some interesting guests just to take a breath, reconfigure yourself, get ready for the second half of the week because, as we all know, you spend the week on your own with your small business or a business owner or a solopreneur, and you can start off with all kinds of good intentions. Fate is karma. I talked about coughing earlier, and I get a coughing spell. Good intentions on Monday, get to Wednesday, and oh my goodness, the life's taken over. So this is an opportunity to take a little bit of a spot check. If you're into a sporting reference, a football game, this is a game where you all have a halftime. You have your orange segments. You take a breath. The coach tells you what to do, and off you go for the second half. So today, luckily, I've got an old friend of mine to come and talk to, and I've just trying to go through when we first met, and I think it was round about 2017, 2018. So it's quite a while where we've known each other through this weird thing called the internet, and obviously we'll talk about that when we meet. But without spending too much time for me dithering on, I'll introduce you to Suzan. So hi, Suzan. It was about 2018, wasn't it, when we first met?
Yeah, just about someplace like that. And when you said old friend, I was like, heck yeah, it's been a while. I didn't really think about that because I just happen to know Mark. I talk to Mark all the time. And
Absolutely.
I'm like, oh yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah, I think it was a leader, one of the early leaders, or the first leader, even maybe.
Mhm.
Serves me right. I did mention earlier that I had to mute some of these things because last time we had poor old Amanda who's on having a chat here for those people who followed this a little before, and she had a coughing. She kept coughing every so often, and now it's obviously karma. It's my fault. It's my turn. So excuse me if I don't cough. I will try and avoid it. But, so hello, Suzan. After all that, so
Hello.
yeah, it's a long time. It's great. I've been trying to get you on this for a while. I've been looking forward to spending some time because we've had a number of times where we've gone on live and had a conversation together, and our conversations tend to be wide ranging all over the place, and I love having these conversations. And hopefully, again, we'll have another one of those. So I'm looking forward to it. So for
Yeah,
those people who
it feels like we do this about once a year or so. I've had you on my show, I've been on yours. It just we kind of go back and forth a little bit.
Absolutely,
So
and it's
yeah.
always fun, always interesting, and I know I always find something different and something new to talk about. So I'm looking forward to, and those people who are lucky enough to come along and say hi. So to follow, say hi in the comments if you're watching this on replay. Say hi in the replay, and get involved because, like I said, Suzan and I will would love to see some of your comments and. To talk about what you want us to talk about, which would be brilliant. So, but to start this off, generally, like I said, I like to start this off by a little introduction. I know Suzan, and even though I do know Suzan, I probably don't know her full origin story. We've talked to her a little bit about why she does what she does, but I'd be love to hear from you, Suzan. Why why do you do what you do and what do you do? So for those who haven't come across you, what is your origin story?
So I am a marketing consultant and a communication coach, and I specialize in helping introverted business owners thrive in an extroverted marketing world. There's a big challenge for some introverts where being an introvert is kind of getting in their way and they're trying to figure out what's going on and trying to manage how can they market their business in a way that works, that grows their business without them being exhausted and burnt out and feeling like they're having to pretend to be an extrovert in order to get done what they're trying to do in order to build that business. And my story actually goes back. So I've been in business for 16 years, and it's probably during the first I think it was like around year 4 or year 5, maybe a little bit earlier. I was working with a particular client. This is where this particular bend started, because I started my business actually building websites and then realized I didn't want an agency. But I was working with a client, just doing some consulting, helping her put a strategy together for what she was trying to do. And I realized, like, every time she and I were talking one day, and I was like, "Hey, you know so much about what you do. We should put some sort of a class together for you, some sort of a mastermind, someplace where you can really just talk with people who need what you offer and do a presentation, to help them see how you can help them." And she just looked at me like I was crazy, and she was like, "No." And I was like, "No, heck, I've never heard anybody say no before. All right." So I talked about doing some live presentations or doing some social media where she really puts herself out there and is talking about what she does and really serving her community to help them know what she can do to help them. And she was like, Absolutely not. Why would I do that? Of course not. I'm not going to do that." And I was like, and I didn't ever ask why no, and I don't know that she would have known. I just knew that she kept saying no, and I didn't know what to do with that except to ask. So finally, after she'd said no a bunch of times to me, I was like, what do you want to do? Right? What is on the table for you? What do you want to do? And she's like, "Well, I'm happy to talk to people one-on-one, like over coffee." And I was like, "Oh, okay, tell me more about that. What does that look like for you?" And she's like, "Well, I don't mind in-person networking if I can leave when I want to, and I'm happy to use those times to set up conversations with people and have coffee and then talk to people." And so I just had a conversation with her about how that's not digital and might be a little bit slower, but we could also turn it into a digital version of that. And we just kind of talked from there. At the time, I was in a do it for you kind of a model. And so, like, what could I do to carry some of the load that she was uncomfortable with? And, for her, marketing was very heavy and difficult and challenging. And so, this was a way to help her lean into what she's most comfortable with. And it was like probably a year later, I was working on a project with her. She was doing what she was doing. She was seeing results. And someplace along the way, we ran like a winter campaign for her where she was doing a combination of different things with the meeting people in person. And I had some things going on in the background. And we got done with the campaign. And I was like, "What do you think? How did it go?" And she was like, I didn't expect this, but that was actually fun." And I was like, You think marketing is fun?" And she's like, "That was fun." And I was like, "Okay, this is doable. We can, even though so many things are off the table for you, we can still build your business with what for you is on the table." And that was the beginning of this journey. And then not long after, realized that a lot of the people that I worked with, the people I think gravitate towards, and the people who gravitate towards me tend to be introverts. And I'm very happy to work around what is on the table and off the table for them. And that's one of the questions I asked them very early on in order to create a marketing structure for them that works for them so that they can actually do it, sustain it, and not feel burnt out about it. But it all began with that first client who was like, "No." And I was like, "What do you mean no?" So that's my story, Mark. That's how it all began. And starting from them then and coming back to here, it's evolved, into one-on-one coaching and group coaching and my helping my group members, helping my one-on-one clients really just find their way into a marketing strategy that works for them instead of following the extroverted expectations of how you're going to put yourself out there.
I love that story, and like I said, I don't think I have heard that story, so it's lovely to find something new. It's one of the beauties I I love about having this conversation is people's journey towards where they are now is always a bit twisted. It's nice to see that it goes through in and out and stuff, and it's intriguing and interesting to find that little bit of just interesting spark that get them to where they are. And I love the I love the fact that that she was strong enough to say no, which is good. A lot of people in that situation, I would imagine, and that will, yeah, fair enough. If you told me to do that, I will I will gird my loins and just go for it and see what
Yeah.
I can make of it, and not really do it. So
Yeah.
it's
And that's what happens a lot of the time is introverts are like, okay, I guess is what it takes. And I have one client that I've been working with for a couple of years now. And when she was in a program, not mine, in another program before me, and they were like, okay, you need to do these things and these things. And she tried them and they weren't working. And she said to them, I don't think I can do this. And they said to her, you must not want your business bad enough. And I was like, are you flipping kidding me? Of course you do. This is just not comfortable. And so that's one of the reasons we fit well together. And you're right. A lot of people don't say no because they think it's just the gauntlet they have to run in order to succeed. But you cannot run a gauntlet and run your business. You've got to be able to do it in a way that's incredibly sustainable for you, where you're happy to show up. Because if you're not comfortable, if it's not, people fight for consistency in their marketing, right? Consistency, no matter what you're doing, you have to do it consistently. You have to show up and show up and show up. And if you're like, there's no way I can do this, and you're dragging yourself to it and you never find the joy and the fun, that consistency is not going to come. And then people are like, why can't I be consistent? And I'm like, well, how do you feel about it? And they're like, well, it sucks. And I'm like, there it is right there. It sucks. Why would you be consistent? Nobody shows up for the gauntlet consistently like that, right? You've got to enjoy it. And so when we look at what's on the table for you and then use that to create the structure, what's really interesting is further down the road when they've gotten more confident and comfortable, there are some things that aren't off the table. They aren't on the table, but they aren't quite off the table. They're like next to the table. And like video, right? I regularly, semi-regularly, every now and then, every year or two, I run a video workshop within the group coaching program. And I've got one coming up this June. They've been asking they've been asking for it. And what's really interesting is everybody that I sign, that I start working with is like, oh my God, video, no way. And then well, let's do this workshop, very safe place so you can just try it. There's nothing public here. You just get to try it. And then they come out the other side and it happens every time. They're like, that was awesome. How do I use that? And so not everybody does that, but most people do. So that's something that wasn't actually off the table. It was just next to the table. They were like, it's not that I don't want to. That scares the crap out of me. So let's ease you into it and help you see if that works for you. And if it doesn't, great, we don't need it. So many people say that video is mandatory. Video is helpful. It's powerful, not mandatory.
Absolutely, and that's what I like about it. I mean, like I said, we've had these conversations for many years, and what I love about your approach is you hands up. You say marketing. There's a whole raft of ways you can market your business. Yeah. You don't have to follow the crowd. You can pick and choose and do whatever suits your personality, and also you can evolve into other types as you grow and you grow in confidence, which I love, which I can see has an attraction for those people who all they see is you've got to be on all these social medias, you've got to do all the excuse me, damn cough. We've got to post every day. You're going
to make me cough.
I know, so I'll very hard to say.
Coughing is like yawns. One person coughs and everybody's coughing.
It all goes away. Yeah. And this is a deferred a coughing sort of a chain, because this was last week or something. So it's taken me a week to catch it. So let's stop. Where was I? What was I talking? Yeah. So all of these things you can play with as you go in. You don't have to. And I'm very much of the same ilk that business is hard enough as it is. And a lot of people start it because they're passionate about something. They really want to help and support people. And if you're putting barriers in front of them at the beginning, no wonder the statistics about businesses failing in the first couple of years is so high.
Yeah. In fact, to your point, I mean, what's interesting is, so we're told we have to be everywhere, and we don't. In fact, my business did better after I pulled back. I was like, look, I'm trying to do everything. Stop. What do I want to do? Where do I see some traction? Where do I feel most comfortable getting traction? I'm going to do those things. So I stopped my YouTube channel for the moment. I stopped a few other things and I pulled back And it allowed me to really focus my attention, focus and concentrate and not be overwhelmed by it. And my business grew. And so now that that is like basically an oiled machine and running, I'm starting to expand a little bit more. I'm going to be bringing my YouTube back. I have a date on my calendar. It's like the end of May, and I've got other things that I'm putting back in place. I brought LinkedIn back on, things like that. It's like you've got to pull back and be like, okay, get the core in place, and when you know that's working, then you can expand. But people start out expanding. No wonder, we can't be everywhere and get it up and running. It's just too much, especially if you're a solopreneur. You're easily overwhelmed. You're not sure what you're doing, and it's terrifying you. You pull back, get it figured out, do the core work, and then build.
Absolutely, absolutely. And like I said, definitely, I love the fact that you embrace that. You embrace the fact that what can we do? You've got a big catalog of different ways you can approach this.
Mhm.
Not all of it suits you.
Exactly. And you can sew it together anyway. And one of the things that I hear people talk about is, and I get emails about this all the time, especially recently, I've been hearing about this because I've been asking my audience, what are you struggling with? And I hear about them feeling overwhelmed by it. I hear them saying, I feel like I need to be everywhere. I had a thought, it just went flying out of my head. There's someplace I was going with that. But it was important too. What did you just say? You said something that triggered it.
A catalog of lots of different things
Yeah,
you
yeah,
can do.
yeah. There it is. There it is. Thank you very much. That they struggle to stand out. How am I supposed to stand out when there's so many other people doing what I do? That the market is flooded, there's no room for me. And the answer is actually what you just said, Mark. When you do it your way and you're doing it differently because you're not doing what everyone else says and does, that's when you're standing out to people whom that's not a good fit, right? You can get your voice out there some other way. And it doesn't have to be completely different. It just needs to be your voice, but you don't have to yell. You can be very subtle. You can be very quiet about it. You can do it your way. And that's actually how you're going to stand out.
Yeah, I love that. I love that, and I love I love the way that, like you said, that gives it makes it less daunting if you know that you can try and do what you like, and it
Yep.
also I can well imagine video is a case in point. Everywhere I have the
Mhm.
same challenge. I talk to people. You say, do you want to try video? We'll try video, and no, no way. No way do I want to go in front of a
Yep.
camera and in front of people and no way. And then you play with it and they enjoy it. But like I said, it's nice to have the fact that these things and not even the stuff that's off the table, as you say, isn't
Yeah.
really off the table once you build your confidence um and part and parcel of from the experience I see, and I want to, it'd be interesting to see whether you see the same sort of thing. Is once people get confident talking about what they do in the way that they find strength and they're happy to do, the confidence of being able to have their put their message out there, know what they're talking about, why they're talking about what they're talking about, can extend to other areas where they're not quite so confident about being in front of.
Mhm.
Do you find that
Yeah.
as well?
Yeah. Well, one of the things I believe this is true and to a point that people want to be confident before they do the thing. And the thing is confidence comes after you've done the thing and shown that you can do it. So to your point, what you do is you find something that is a little bit easier that you do feel a little bit more confident about. It's not as hard to do, right? You want to get into video, but maybe you start with something that's not video, or you start with B-roll or something like that, and build your confidence in another direction that's related, and then leverage that to do the thing. So it's not, people anyway, so it's about that confidence. It's about that knowing for sure that this is what you want to do and that you feel capable of it. And I think confidence is exactly that, feeling like you can do it, feeling like you can do it in such a way that you're not going to embarrass yourself. People aren't going to make fun of you. And so how do you do that? Well, you start with something you start small, you start with something you are comfortable with, or you start now's a great time if you don't yet have a big audience, so there aren't a ton of people to embarrass yourself in front of. Get that thing done and get more confident and build it over time. Neither you nor I were comfortable when we started video. That's why we started in this LEDA program where we were like, I think I stared at the go live button for 2 hours before I finally pressed the button and said, fine, I'll do it. I have to do it. And then just like freaked out and then hit it, went off. And I was like, okay, I've done it. Like that first one's always the hardest. Neither of us felt comfortable. And then here you are with the regular weekly show. Here I am with a YouTube channel that I'm going to, bring back again. Right. It's we have to allow ourselves the learning and be okay with making mistakes. Like you've been like, hey, and we're live. I mean, that's the answer. It's live. Anything can happen.
No,
And so
absolutely.
being okay with that.
No, and you're right. That came and comes with knowing that if you have a coughing fit when you're live, nothing's gonna happen. No one's gonna come along and point at you. No one's gonna
Yeah.
go away and run away and do something.
Yeah, they're not
It
going
is
to be
what it
like,
is.
oh my God, I'm out of here. I'm out of here. How dare you cough? No. I mean, it's helpful to like find the mute button or something. I mean, how do we want to handle it? Or like you said,
Yeah.
bounce it to me. But in general, people don't want perfection. People don't actually respond to perfection because it feels out of reach. If you want clients and the people I work with are in this for the sake of growing their business, showing up imperfect will actually serve you. And most of the people I work with are perfectionists. A lot of introverts are. And I'm a perfectionist, and learning that imperfection is a form of perfection. And that when you make a mistake, people actually are more endeared to you. People want to support, people want to help. And if they feel that you are so out of reach, not only do they not feel like you need their support and they don't need to help you, they also aren't inclined to work with you because you're so out of reach that they're uncomfortable showing their weaknesses. And they need to show where they need help to somebody they're comfortable with in order to ask for the help, in order to get the help, in order to feel like you're the person that they're going to get help from and feel good about and make their progress, feel like they're going to get your support, that you get them, that you understand them. And so there is a perfection in our imperfection.
I love that. And you're very right. It is. Yeah, there are a lot of people who exactly the people who you look up to and you think, they've got what I want. They're doing the things I want. They're achieving the goals and the outcomes that I want to achieve, but they're so out of reach that I can't even think about even getting anywhere close to that. Whereas the people who are doing just the same kind of well, they're successful, but are coming on live and coughing and flubbing and doing some things, but are just carrying on going and doing something, like you say, are within reach, and you think, I can do that. I can come on and talk and have a coughing fit. I can come on and talk and just chat with someone. And that's all it is. As long as, we don't want to go down the video. We're on a video sort of show.
Well, I was just using it as an example, but it's true for social media. It's true for blogging. It's true for email marketing. Whatever tool you choose to use, you're not going to start in perfection. And if we, as the people, depends on what somebody does, right? I've got my clients are coaches. I've got a person who makes jewelry. I've got 2 editors. It's funny. I've got 2 editors at the same time working with me. I've got authors that I work with, right? I work with the gamut, but in every single case, they have to start with the imperfection. And honestly, what they're building isn't going to be perfect either. It's just better. And it's just that they're more confident, but it's in that imperfection that they find the connection that they're trying to build with their audience.
Absolutely.
So,
Yeah. And I love that link, and I think that's something, you are very right. A lot of people strive for perfection before they do anything. They try and make sure everything's perfect before they even take a step. And no matter how many people I'm sure we've had this term and this word beforehand. So no matter how many people understand logically that you're never going to be perfect first time, you're going to have to do things, and it's from learning through doing that you become
Mhm.
better.
Yeah.
And I'm not
In
going to say
in
you become
fact,
perfect, but better.
yeah, in fact, they won't be able to attain perfect or closer to perfect without starting
No,
because they don't know what to fix yet.
no,
You have to do it in order to be like, okay, here are my weaknesses. Otherwise, they're shoring up things that might be fine. They don't know where to focus, where to pay attention. You've got to execute and be like, okay, that didn't work. Why didn't it work? And as somebody, so I've been in business for over 16 years. I've been doing my current programs for like 4 or 5 years now. And even now I'm like, and where I'm at, I'm always fixing this and turning that and changing this. And I've got plans this summer to redo some things in order to make it better, but I can't make it better if I didn't do it in the first place.
no.
Right. So there's, you can't improve it. You can't reach for perfection until you're doing it at all. And it's that first try that tells you where to focus.
Yeah. The first messy start. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
Indeed.
like writing a book. You've got to have a messy first draft if you want a final book. You've got to start somewhere. And that messy first draft is the natural place to start.
Absolutely. Yeah, and it is, and it's a shame when you see people, and I'm sure you come across the same. That you see people who know I've got a load of stuff that they can help and share, and but they're holding back because they want that. They want it to
Yeah.
look slick and tidy and perfect
Mhm.
and sure before they even start. And you're thinking, uh, there are so many people who are not gaining from your experience because you're not trying first. You're not starting.
Mhm.
And,
Yep.
and we've
Just
had that
start.
conversation, you and I, as well.
Yeah. Yeah, we have, and it's a just start. You just have to start. And if you start and you start again. The point is to not give up. And what you're not giving up is you're not giving up on yourself. You can do this. And if that doesn't work, if you think it's not working, that doesn't mean it's not working. Are you looking in the right place, right? One of the things I work with people on is, is it working at all? Because they don't feel that it's working. Well, how you feel about something and whether or not it's working are two different things.
Yeah,
And we have to make sure we're looking at the right place to see not whether it's working, but how it's working. And then what can we do to continue to level that up?
absolutely. Yeah, yeah. And that's very much what we were talking about last week with the coughing lady, poor old Amanda. I'll use her proper name, Amanda Webb. Yeah, knowing what you're trying to achieve and knowing how to work out whether
Mhm.
that's whether you are achieving that
Yeah.
through analytics stats or whatever else you want to do, someone
Yeah.
else's viewpoint is gut feeling is all well and good, but gut feeling is about how you feel, not necessarily how bad it is.
And that's just it. When we're more worried about how we're feeling about it, we're looking at it through the wrong lens. And so what is the right lens? The lens is getting feedback from people. The lens is talking to our audience. The lens is finding out where our data is and then understanding what we're looking at. And out of all the measurements that are out there, what are the 2 or 3 that we want to move? Right? What is my goal? Am I looking to, like, social media? Am I looking to build my audience through followers? Am I looking to get more engagement on my posts? Those are 2 different goals. And you can't go for both at the same time. Will one influence the other? Maybe. But we need to make sure what is the actual goal we're looking for here, and then make sure we're paying attention to the right measurements. And how I feel is a measurement, but actually not the most reliable one, because we worry, oh, wasn't my best thing, oh, I did this differently, oh, I did this wrong, oh, it didn't show up right, whatever, oh, nobody replied, it must suck. No, maybe it doesn't. Maybe people just don't know to reply. Most of our audience doesn't reply. That doesn't mean it's not working. It doesn't mean it didn't resonate.
No, absolutely,
So,
absolutely. No,
yeah.
no, you're true. And what I'm hearing about this, and one of the things I sometimes talk about, and don't always talk about this, is talking about superpowers and kryptonite, and
Mhm.
how often we pull back from what we think is one of our weaknesses, when with a little bit of effort it can turn into a strength by not by 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 just trying that, taking that first step. Like I said,
Yeah.
if we sometimes feel the gut and feel the pain of doing it, we
Mhm.
often don't experience what may be one of our biggest strengths by just pushing through a little.
Mhm.
And I know we started this talking about pushing through in terms of some of the marketing sort of strategies you can use that may feel uncomfortable for you. But
Mhm.
it's the same in other kinds of things. So, how do you come across that in your experience? Sometimes you have a sneaking suspicion that if they just took the first step, that thing
Mm,
that they're pulling back from
mm.
um, may help them.
Yeah, yeah. So one of the things that I do a lot of is helping people with their mindset. And I hear it all the time. I got an email yesterday. Somebody was like, I feel like the thing in my way is me. Right. And most people are right. The people who aren't saying that are still also probably right. Right. We have to start with how we're thinking about something and what our expectations are and what is holding us back. And I see more often than not, I see fear of failure, fear of judgment, and fear of success. So they're afraid that they're going to fail, but oh, what if it works? Now they're what how am I going to handle that? Right. And so there are answers. And so we've got to understand from our mindset perspective, what is the thing that's in your way? And then how are you thinking about it? We all tend to tell ourselves a particular story, and we don't realize that there are like 100 other stories that might also be true. And when we can realize that that's not the only thing, and when we think about something that's going to stop us, oh my God, I'm going to put something out there, and then the people I know are going to hate or be, I'm just going to be embarrassed. I mean, I'm embarrassed and I don't even know what the idea is that I'm putting out there, right? That shame trigger happens. And we've got to get past that because we're thinking from a perspective of our fear. We're thinking from a perspective of our perception of what's going to happen. And if we can get our heads around what other people are going to think and how what I want to put out there is going to serve our audience, and we start thinking from their perspective, from out in every single case, that's going to make a huge shift in helping me even take the step forward. So one of the things that I see holding people back, that holds me back, that holds every single one of us back, is we're like, what if? Oh my God, what if? Huge negative thing. What is my mom going to think? What is my best friend going to think? What is this friend from high school that was my arch enemy going to think if they see me online, right? And we need to remember that the question is actually, how is this going to help the person I'm trying to serve? How can I help them take their next step? And if I can get in my head into their head and talk to them specifically, how can I help them with the thing that I know is holding them back? Why would I do them the disservice of not putting that out there? And honestly, if that arch enemy in high school doesn't like it, she's not my client. Who cares? Right? And come on, is your family not going to like it? If they don't, who cares? But they want you to succeed. If they're loving relatives, they want you to succeed. And if they aren't, they don't matter. They're not part of this. This is your business. Do you want to thrive or not? Right. And I'm not saying, do you want to thrive or not? Do it. Let's go back to that client who's like, you must not want your business
Yeah.
bad enough. Of course you do. If this doesn't work because this is uncomfortable, that's a different topic. But if you want to serve a particular audience and you really feel that this is what you want to do and how you want to do it, getting your head into the head of your audience and out of your own can make a huge difference in helping you take that step. So I feel like I scrambled that up a little bit, but mindset is often where I begin because we've worked ourselves into such a lather about it that we're afraid to take the next step. And that's, I think, even before, like you and I were talking about perfection. I want it to be perfect is where we hide because we're uncomfortable about putting ourselves out there. And it's okay to be uncomfortable and to do it anyway. And then what I do is I give them some guidance. I take a look at it ahead of time. Here's what you can change. You know what? You don't have to change that. Let's see what happens. I've got 3 ideas that you can do instead. If that doesn't work, let's see what happens. And I also talk with my clients about not doing something once and thinking that's enough and thinking that that will tell them everything. Once is just the first time. You have to do something 3 or more times. You have and that magic number 3 I use kind of as a bit of a compass. Well, how many times have you done it? Um, if I've done it for 3 months, I've got data. If I've done it for a week or 3 weeks, I don't have the data yet. I've barely knocked on the door.
Absolutely, and like pulling back to the same sort of conversation we're having, you're very right. Mindset is definitely the first step, and I think then where you join in is say, yeah, okay, we get your mindset set, and then we open the catalog and you can pick and choose what works. You don't have to do the
Yep. What do you want?
really
What are your
scary thing.
options?
Yeah, absolutely. Here are your options.
Yep.
We just
Yeah.
get you straight, knowing that whatever these options there is, it's going to be a little bit nervy the first couple of times you do it.
It is. So you find the thing that's most comfortable. So you mentioned before, and I really love these words, superpower and kryptonite, right? That's like, what do you already know about yourself that you can leverage, that you just know is true? And then what is the thing that you're like, oh, dear God, can I just do anything else? Right. So, yeah, those are good ones.
Absolutely. And I like to use that with the people I talk to recognize the fact that, if you've already got some strengths, and some things that work for you and you work well for you, why are you trying to push yourself into an area that doesn't work for you? When generally there's someone who can do that for you and help you for you.
Or you can get there without having to do that, right? If you don't want to be on video, you've got so many other answers. And the mistake is listening to the people who are like, you have to do video. No, you don't. No, you don't. And you can just do static images on social media and make inroads.
Yeah. No,
So,
absolutely.
Yeah, it's fine.
That's cool. We're sort of sidetracking into a little bit of an area because you've sort of mentioned, in some respects, a lot of the stuff you work with is working with tools or strategies or processes or things you can do. But what do you find is the sort of tools? Where do you normally get people to start? What are the things that you find is an easy thing for them to step into, or is it, or am I jumping the gun in terms of it's so varied that it's very difficult to
Yeah, it's pretty varied. It really depends. It really depends on who they are, what they already have in place, where they are in their journey. So it varies. Where one person's like, I'm all into Instagram, somebody else shudders at the idea. So I start with where they are and help them put it together. My job is to not just help them do that, but do that in a way that's systematic, right? I want them to think. Every single one of us thinks about, I'll ask somebody, so what are you doing for your marketing? And they'll be like, well, in Facebook, I'm doing this. Facebook is not marketing. Facebook is a tactic of marketing. And so I really try to bring my clients into a, big picture. What is my strategy? Okay, you're on Facebook. Then what? What is the journey you're creating for your ideal client to get them from finding you to working with you? Right? That's a multi-step journey. And what are you doing to help the right people find you? What are you doing to help those right people understand that you can help them, how you can help them, and learn to trust you as a resource to help them? And then how are you bringing them in from there to the way that you work with them? And it depends, because I work with both product and service-based companies, mostly with service-based, but there are, like I said, I have a jewelry making client who sells jewelry kits. And I, for a long time, had a client who worked on refinishing furniture and reselling it, right? But I also have coaches and editors and authors, which are product-based, honestly, even though you can think some businesses are both. So it depends on what you're doing. It depends on who your audience is, and it depends on your best way of communicating. So for introverts, writing is a primary way for most introverts to communicate. I am actually a verbal processor, right? I speak better. I can speak my ideas a little bit more smoothly and then capture them written. It doesn't mean I can't go the other way, but this is where my strength is. And so understanding that, how they communicate best and where their comfort zone is where we're going to begin. but we want to do it with intention. What is the journey that you're bringing your audience through? What are you helping them understand? What are you helping them with? And then making a connection that brings them through. So, what is everyone's individual journey that you're creating? It often, not always, but it often is social media to email marketing, but it isn't always. Sometimes it's blogging into social media, right? Different tools come and go. And so, what is, I always start with where are you now? And what do you want to do? And then we build from there.
And a great place to start. And one of the things I liked when you were talking about is even if you nowadays there's a whole raft of different ways of handling the way you can process your information. Like you alluded to the fact that you were a verbal processor now, and you also alluded to the fact that writing is a good way to kickstart some of that, because it helps to be in contact with people, but yet not necessarily fully. Your face is not there, your voice is not there, etc. So and there are now sort of some cool tools that can take your voice. If voice is the way you process your data, your information, and the way you start, will take your voice and turn it into audio and stuff. I know you and I are both keen users of a tool called Descript, which I think is a brilliant a way of sort of handling that kind of stuff. And again, it can take your voice, turn it into some wonderful some text, and that again alludes to your idea about perfection. Some people think that if you're going to write something properly, it has to be structured like it's a book, structured like it's an article in a newspaper or a magazine, whereas the chatty sort of almost like transcription of how you would talk is sometimes what people react to better. So
yeah. And then there's also structure, right? So you just said, and I love that you just said this, there's magazines, there's newspapers. Writing in a blog or writing in a social media post, there's a different structure. And so you've got to keep into account what's going to work. Newspapers are they write like this. Is it that way or is it this way? I forget which way it is. But the point is that they give they give away the point first, and then they build the history of it. So it's this way. They give away the point so that if somebody reads just the first paragraph, they get everything, and then they read the rest if they feel like they want to. And you don't necessarily. So I have a lot of people that come up and they write like that because they read articles, they read newspapers that are like that. But that's news. That's not marketing. Right? Marketing is a particular style of writing. I work with authors, and so they're writing the blog post like they would the book. Well, I'm like, that's a different type of writing. This is marketing, not writing your books. So how you structure a marketing post or a post for the sake of marketing what you do. And we need to not take marketing wrong in that case, because people are going to start, they're often like, but I don't want to feel salesy. That you don't have to. What it is how to invite somebody to read the rest, not stop at the opening paragraph, and how to write it in a way that the skimmer is going to catch all the points that you're writing about while reading through that, because you want to also respect their time, right? It's a different type of writing. So one of the things that I run into is people having an expectation for how it works. And should it be like a coffee chat? If that's your voice, absolutely. But you can do it in a way that also invites them to continue to read and to get the point that you're trying to give them without giving it away in the first sentence.
No, I love that. And this is the same for whatever, the same in video and audio and etc. Same sort of thing. People, especially in audio, I have a habit of listening to it at multiple speeds. So a lot of it is probably skimming the audio just as you skim the text. So I love that. And one other thing about before we leave sort of writing per se, do you generally it's one of those things that I, uh, in your experience, do you find that writing is more in sort of marketing, is it a little bit more conversational than structured? Because I know there in from what I've seen, there's a push and a pull you from big long form type informative stuff through to
Mhm.
more chatty, more poppy, more, you know, boom 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 sort of thing. In your experience, do you find, what do you find helps your audience better?
It depends on what you offer
Yeah.
and who you're serving. And so here's some examples. If you're a lawyer doing online, doing creative content, it's going to be a little bit, it often can be a little bit longer because you're explaining a few things. The challenge in that case is saying it in a way that isn't so lawyerese that they don't understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
Right. So often the challenge is more crossing the gap of language. But it depends if a person's like, I've got 5 things to say, and I have a client like that who she finds it hard to write a longer blog post. And so I'll work with her and I'll be like, what about this question? What about that question? There are ways to extend it. It depends on what we're talking about from a marketing standpoint. Am I just trying to engage my audience and give them information, or am I trying to leverage SEO, the search engine optimization? Because SEO responds better to a longer post, largely because there's more information to feed into the search engine. But that doesn't mean that's all you should do. I have another client who she's like, "Oh, I really wanna write this, and I think it's gonna be kind of long." And I'm like, "Great, maybe it's cornerstone content." And cornerstone content is a piece, it's like you've almost written a book online where it's incredibly long, but it's gonna show up regularly because there's so much in there to be searched on. So it depends on who you're serving, what your mission is, what your goal is with that piece of information, where you're putting it, whether or not it's a one-off or you're doing this regularly. All those things come in. The point, I think, is if you want to write your content, you can. And honestly, the more you write, the more you'll find your voice. And you don't have to necessarily have the answer. Once you've done 3 or 5 or 6, you'll be like, okay, this is what I'm doing. This is where my comfort zone is. Or, okay, this isn't working. How can I do it differently? You're right. We can speak our content and then have some place like Descript grab what the transcript is and then bring it, edit it, because how we speak and how we write, 2 different things, and then turn it into something like that. We can use an AI system if we want to. And I have clients who are like completely against AI, but for those who are on board with it, use AI to turn your written into more of a, to turn your spoken into more of a written, or vice versa. There's all sort of features, and it just depends, like I'm saying, on your goals, on what you're comfortable with, on who you're writing for, on what you're writing about. There is no one answer. And the mistake we make, the mistake that marketers make, the mistake that anybody who's got a business makes is this assumption that there's one right answer,
Yeah.
and there isn't. And tied to that is we assume that it's just the business and the people we serve that come up with the answer. But you've got to add, and the difference I bring to the table is, who are you? I want to bring that into the answer, because who you are is where sustainability happens, is where consistency happens, is where voice comes from. You have to bring you into the strategy questions in order to figure out what your answer is.
Yeah, I'm loving that, and I'm loving the common theme in that, like I said, back to the catalog. There's a wide range of things you can do, lots of tools you can help you, and it's about finding what you're comfortable with and what works for you and the audience you're trying to
Yeah.
reach. And
Yeah.
I'm loving that. Um, I want to talk a little bit about one of the things that I know you've talked about in terms of introverts in particularly,
Mhm.
and I know you and I have had this conversation where it comes across as managing your energy is one of the big things about how introverts cope with and the challenge they face. Very much this show, or this that came apart from, like I said at the beginning of this, is it's the middle of the week. You've got to try and we've talked about consistency. You've got to try and be consistent. You've got to try and keep yourself focused during the week. how do you find that doing that in your experience for a how do you do it, and b sort of what sort of things do you do to help sort of others to manage their focus over the week to keep the consistency, because consistency is a big deal, and consistency is also a challenge when, especially when you're on your own
Yeah.
trying to do that.
Yeah, no, those are great questions. I feel like there's two questions in there. One is,
Yeah.
how do I get through the week? Like you're saying, this is the halftime huddle. And
Yeah.
one of the things that I do personally is every single week, I make sure that I have some downtime either Wednesday or Thursday. It might be that I wander up to my office a little bit late Wednesday morning, right? Instead of hitting the desk by 8 or 9, I'm here at like 11. Or I take off early one day and get out of the house. I make sure that I'm walking most days or doing something that, in the middle of the day where I can really just get back into my head and do some small recovery during the week. But those breaks in the middle, I literally am like it's either Wednesday morning or afternoon or Thursday morning that I will just like sitting at my desk isn't an option, for a window of time where I just break away. And it splits my week in half and it gives me an opportunity to catch my breath and to just recenter. And that's the kind of thing that I suggest with my clients is if you're feeling burnt out midweek and you're really having trouble getting from Monday to Friday, if you own your business, you get to choose the hours you work, right? It's not just getting through the week. It's also when is your best time to work, right? If you I had a client, we're not working together anymore, but I worked with her for a long time where she got up at like 11 a.m. and she went to bed at like 3 in the morning or 4 in the morning. And our schedule was so different. So we would always meet later in the day. And for her, it'd be morning. And for me, it'd be at the end of the day. And she was like in my time zone. It just is how it worked best for her. When you can honor that, you can show up as your best self. So understanding how you work and where your energy flows is, and then choosing to lean into that. And somebody is going to hear this and be like, well, I can't do that. I'm doing this, I'm doing that. Well, if you're in charge of your schedule, shift something or figure out what works for you. You're allowed to. I posted something in LinkedIn just a few weeks ago that was just a question, as business owners, we don't have to work 9 to 5. So what do you work? And everybody came back, well, I work 9 to 5 because that's when everybody else is working. Yes. And right. Yes. And I still come to work late on a Wednesday or leave early on Thursday because I get to choose. And do I make exceptions to that? Absolutely. My Tuesday clients, like, I can't meet now. I can't meet till Wednesday morning. That's fine. I've got the flexibility. I can do that. But if you can more often than not, and especially when you need it, step away or adjust in order to fit what your energy is asking for, that when you serve you serve your audience. When you take care of you take care of your audience. You're putting your oxygen mask on first, right? You're making sure you're getting fed and watered as you need to, because when you show up, you can show up for other people.
No, lovely. And thank you for modifying your Wednesday a little bit by getting up early for us. Was in case you haven't noticed, Susan is from the other side of the pond from me, so it's quite early for her. So thank you very much for a Wednesday early morning.
I'm happy to. In truth, as soon as we're done with this, I'm going to go like have breakfast and take the rest of the morning off, and I'll show up at my desk at like 1 o'clock today, and that's fine. That's fine.
Brilliant.
It totally worked out. So, because flexibility, right? I'm nothing if not flexible, and not everybody is like that, right? I'm very shoot from the hip. Not everybody is like that, but if you're not like that, then just schedule it. Just put it in your plan, however you want to. I have clients that talk about like time blocking, where they're like, okay, I have to have my calendar all laid out. Having my calendar incredibly laid out with no empty spaces, they'll be like, and my time off is here, and on it goes in the calendar. That would freak me out. I need empty space. I need to like see the emptiness and the ability to move with it. Who you are comes into that mix. If that's what you need, then that's what you do. Just make sure there's room for you.
Indeed, and we're back to the other question, sort of in there in terms of the energy management of which you sort of covered in terms of understanding what your energy signature is, or your energy flow is, and working around that, which is, like you say, one of the benefits of being self-employed or a solopreneur is as long as you do make space to meet your clients where they are,
Mhm.
in some respects, then the rest of the way you work is up to you.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
how do you
It,
find that is dealt with in terms of, because I know you've mentioned beforehand that there is a distinction between how people cope with the energy drain of interaction and
mhm.
vice versa.
Yeah. So what I want to take this to something that I do run into, which is like a lot of my clients, or when they first come to me, are like, I'm not doing my marketing. I'm not doing my marketing. And I just have too much going on. I know what I want to do, but I'm just not sitting down and doing it. And I incorporate that into the group coaching program. We have a co-working session every week, most weeks, things like that. Just because you don't do it yet doesn't mean you can't do it. You just haven't cultivated the habit. And the habit doesn't come to you in 6 weeks. Any program that you're like, let's use a month to put a habit in place is not setting you up for success. A habit, and the harder the habit is to do, the longer it's going to take to put it into place. Right? There's a reason why the IMA is a year long. So the Introverts Marketing Academy, there's a reason why it's a year long, because it takes that long to build the habits, to figure out what the problem is. Right? The first month that you do something, you're enthused. It's in the third month that you're like, oh, here's the problem. And so we need to give you that time to figure it out. So, and I want to tie that, because we're talking about energy too. We have assumptions about our energy based on what we've learned about ourselves, but that isn't all of ourselves. And sometimes we stay tight to that, so we haven't pushed a barrier in order to find out more. And it's when we put something new in place and then try to hold it that we start to learn more. Okay, this is why that doesn't work for me. Oh, I didn't know I could do that. Right? The client who somebody said to them, "You must not want your business enough," absolutely wants her business enough. And as we've worked together, have found where her challenges are, put new things in place, some of which was confidence, some of which was an understanding of her messaging, some of which was understanding just what she's happy doing, what she really wants, in order to help her show up for herself. Right? And she, as much as an introvert, has a podcast. Right? She's happy to talk about it. She just doesn't wanna be on video, but she feels like she can talk about things a little bit better when she can freewheel a little bit. That allows her to really expand in a way that blogging wasn't comfortable for her. Everyone's different. And so when you find what your energy allows you to do and lean into that, you start to make inroads. I don't know if I'm answering your question, Mark.
No. I think you're right, and I think I like your description of the IMA, and I'm sure we'll talk about something that you've got coming up recently as well,
Yeah.
upcoming as well. But I like the way that you set it as a longer term process, because essentially you're very right. There's an energy and an enthusiasm from the start of something, and it's when you hit that first falling off the bike and you have to get back on the bike, that's where the habit really starts to become
Mhm.
a habit. Is the number of times you can get back on,
Yeah.
or back
Yeah.
on the list, or tick off
Yeah.
a new streak, whatever way you measure how your habit is building and growing. It's that gap, the
Mhm.
first number of gaps you overcome, I suppose, is a bit of a weird way of saying
Yeah.
it, but
Yeah,
you
every
come
time
back
you
on.
stumble, you have to
Yeah,
remember to get back up, and you getting back up is part of the habit you're
yeah,
building, right? And it also depends. People think about marketing as daily or weekly. Well, you can bulk create and make it monthly. You just got to make sure you come back every month, that you every month create that habit, create that space. That's a harder habit to create, because it's not every week. You're not drilling it into yourself.
no,
You've got to make space in your calendar to do it every single month, if that's how often you're doing it, and make sure that it's completely reasonable. So, um, yeah, so marketing is in part habit creation. And when you can not just put the habit in place, but train yourself to get back up every time you fall, knowing that something's going to happen. The holidays are going to throw you off, or somebody in your family is going to get sick, and you're going to have to choose to step away. As long as you come back, and come back reasonably soon, and get right back on that. That's where habits actually get created.
Absolutely, absolutely, and I like that, and I like that as way as it builds experience, and it builds it builds understanding of your flow. Basically,
Mhm.
it's because the flow is ups and downs, and if you all you experience is the initial euphoria of starting something, and that's what you
Yeah.
base it on, that's all you feel, then you don't
Yeah.
have a full picture of what it means to
Mhm.
do what you're
Yeah.
doing.
Yeah.
Um,
That's why I always say 3 months is your minimum amount of time.
yeah.
3 months minimum.
Brilliant. And before we go on to what it's almost one of my favorite parts as well. Although this conversation is another one of the conversations I love having a conversation with you. So I will invite you again, Susan, as many times as I can, because we always have great conversations. But I know that you've talked about the IMA. um, You've talked about the program is a 12-month program, and you regularly have a number of workshops you go through, and you've got one coming up. Is that right?
So are you talking about the masterclass?
Yes, the masterclass. Sorry, yeah, the
Yeah,
masterclass.
yeah. No, I've got a masterclass. So today is Wednesday, the 23rd. On Tuesday of next week, so April 29th, I think that is, I'm running a masterclass, and it's, it's for the public and it's free. If, for any introverted business owners who are struggling to market their businesses and want to build an audience and create, be actually feeling like they're talking to people, we're going to be talking about what you need to do and what is typically in the way if you're an introvert. So it's called 3 audience building secrets for introverted entrepreneurs that honor your quiet authenticity. And it's a long title, but um it's for introverts, ambiverts, and anybody who just feels that they're quiet. So they might not have themselves categorized as that. An ambivert, by the way. So you've got introvert and extrovert, right? What we believe are introverts and extroverts. An ambivert has a little bit of both, and most of us are ambiverts. Most of us have a little bit of both. It depends on just it's more of a spectrum and where you land. But if you feel that the quiet aspect of your personality, this desire to this frustration with having to put yourself out there in a way that's uncomfortable is getting in your way of marketing your business, this is what that masterclass is all about.
Brilliant. Thank you very much for that. And I will, for those people who come across it, it'll be in the links. I will let people know where they can sign up and go to this workshop, because like I say, if anybody's listened to this, they'll know that Susan is going to be very supportive and helpful for you. So do come along.
Mhm.
So again, this is where I'm doing this a lot for me more than anybody. So I almost could turn this off now, because I just want to collect the information. But basically, and it comes with a twist. Is a book recommendation, but it comes with a twist. And I
Mm.
know I've given you a little bit of a heads up beforehand, so which is quite good. And it comes from, again, nicked off Tim Ferriss, and Tim Ferriss is going to have his ears burning every time I say this, um, where he uses it so that essentially, rather than I'm saying what's your favorite book, because I know from experience, and he mentioned the same thing. I know from experience, people who read a lot or like books, um, their favorite book up and down, it varies, but basically almost to the one they're reading, or one they're not reading, or they've just read, or whatever. Whereas what is a little bit more of a guide to what is a helpful and useful book is what book do they recommend and gift to others. So um,
Awesome.
so
So I'm going to recommend a book. If you've heard this one before, you let me know, because I've got like 2 others I can easily pull.
well,
Um,
when I say only one, I'm more than happy with lots of them, so it doesn't really matter. But
right.
generally, if we can keep it to one, let's see
Well,
what
let's
we've got.
stay with one for now. And if
Yeah.
you've heard of it, that or you've already had somebody's recommended it, I got 2
Well,
others sitting behind me.
that's never a problem.
But
Multiple is good.
yeah, Atomic Habits is one of my go-tos. I absolutely gift this. Um, and in the IMA, in the Introverts Marketing Academy, we're going to be reading it in May, which will be, I think, my
Ah,
3rd or 4th reading of it. And as you can see, I read this puppy a lot. And we were talking about habits. People don't realize that marketing is largely habit based. And this is a fantastic book for giving you insight into what a habit actually is and some different ways to make habits actually take hold in your life. And it's well told. It's a fantastic book. So it's James Clear, who's he has a really good newsletter that I occasionally have found myself on, but this book is amazing. And I've literally, in the IMA, sometimes I do things like I'm doing the video. So sometimes I gamify things. Like when I'm doing the video workshop later on this year, I'm going to gamify it. And certain people who do certain things get to choose a gift, or I just bequeath them a gift. And if they don't have, they might all at that point have Atomic Habits since we're reading it first. But that's one of the books that I'll usually be giving away if people don't have it yet.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm trying to think whether someone yet has suggested it, but it's definitely on my list of books that I recommend to everyone because it, like you say, it is a great book. And again with his newsletter, I can't remember, 3 points or something. He goes from 3 to 1. It's called 3 to 1, I think.
Yeah, I think so. Something like that.
Yeah,
So,
which is intriguing, and it's another one of those simple little newsletters. Again, Tim Ferriss he's got 5 bullets where he just has 5 little points he just mentions, and there's nothing. Often they're not even linked and related. They're just 5 things that he came across in the week, and the 3 points from James Clear is little newsletter is great.
Yeah, but it's a fabulous book. This is a fabulous book. It's very readable, which is nice because I'm not a big business book reader because they're not readable. I just can't. I just struggle to. But this is one of them, and I don't have the other one. I don't have it behind me. The other one is Big Magic. What's her name? Elizabeth.
She's the Eat, Pray, Love lady, isn't she?
Yeah, she is.
Gilbert, I think, isn't it?
Elizabeth Gilbert.
Yeah.
Elizabeth Gilbert. Big Magic is it's an amazing book, and again, very readable.
No, indeed. So. Both books are on my list as well.
Nice.
I love the pair of them, which is good. And like I said, it's great to have people recommend books that have already been recommended because it sort of
it reinforces it.
Reinforces the importance of looking at. And I also like some people who've, I've had someone who recommended the Little Prince as well, which is another. It's a brilliant book.
All right. There's something to learn. There's something to learn in each of them. I mean, I think that's all. Yeah, but, absolutely.
I will definitely second Atomic Habits. And you're right. It is an easy read, and it is an easy reread. That's one of the things that sometimes is good about it. That, when you reread it, there is always something new to pick out and some things you maybe forgotten or you'll read.
I'm looking forward to going through it again in May with my group because I think it'll be interesting because we're doing it in a group. We're doing it across the whole month, so there'll be opportunities for everybody to speak up about what they've gotten out of it and to share it as a resource with each other. So I'm really looking forward to hearing what they think. So it's going to be good.
Good. That sounds like a great activity as well. So. Definitely, they're going to have a great month, and Big Magic, brilliant book, as well. Intriguing book because, like I said, the Eat, Pray, Love is not necessarily a book that I would read myself, but Big Magic is very good, very worth a read.
Eat, Pray, Love is fantastic, especially the first third. And then the other 2 are good, but that first third is just like a breakout into adventure. It's a breakout.
Yeah.
And her trip into Italy is just awesome. So,
indeed.
I mean, the whole thing's good, but I love the first part of it.
Definitely worth going to Italy. I'd second that as well. Well, it's been lovely talking to you. We've mentioned your upcoming masterclass. Where else can they find you and follow you and find out a little bit more of what's going on and so you can help them? Where would be?
Yeah. So my online moniker is Suzan CZ, SUZANCZ. So my website, SUZANCZ.com, on Instagram, SUZANCZ, YouTube at SUZANCZ. So if you put that out there, that's how you're going to find me. Instagram is probably my strongest in terms of social media. I'm looking forward to reviving my my LinkedIn, sorry, my YouTube. So you'll have to come and join me later on this year. And then there's my website, but definitely grab the link. So you've got 2 links. We've got the masterclass, and then there's also the Quiet Marketing Handbook, and you've got that link too. And those are wonderful. If there are introverts watching that are really looking for guidance, the Quiet Marketing Handbook can be incredibly helpful as well. I would absolutely go with that. And then please come to the masterclass. There's a Q&A at the end, and people can ask about your own business. But the number one thing I hear with the masterclass, I see it almost every time it shows up in the chat, is somebody will be like, "Oh my God, I found my people," because everyone in the room is an introvert. Instead of the introverts being the quiet people in the room, everyone in the room is an introvert or an ambivert, and that's what it's about. That's where it's going to be. So, and they don't have to speak or get into the spotlight, but it's going to be about them, and they will have room for a voice. And that's, I think, one of the things this world struggles with, because we're so extroverted in our cultures. And it's the expectation is introverts struggle to feel like they have a voice. And this is a place where they can speak up as they want to in a way that's comfortable for them.
Yeah, lovely. And I've been on the workshop as well. Sorry, the masterclass rather. So definitely full of useful information as well. And like you say, a great place to be with other people who are in the same sort of situation as you, in the same boat, or whatever metaphor you want to talk about. As you found your tribe or whatever. So definitely do go along. I will put all those in the links to wherever you find this. If you're on YouTube, Facebook, or LinkedIn, which is where this is going out live, and there'll be a recording there for those people who find this later on. So if you're finding it later on, say hi. Please do say hi to it and comment. And follow Suzan. So Suzan, as ever, this has been I've enjoyed this. And like I said, a lot of these we talked earlier about the fact that you do video it can be quite hard and quite daunting. The one thing I did learn initially is a lot of this is if you find someone you really sort of you forget that you're doing it live. You forget that you're in front of other people. You're just having a great time talking to people, and most people are happy to have a good conversation. So have a go. So do it yourself. Have a go. And again, thank you very much, Suzan, for spending the time with me, getting up early and saying hi to us. And I will speak to you soon. We'll definitely have you on again sometime soon.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Mark, for having me. It's been an honor. It's always an honor to be on here with you. I love it, and I love talking to you. So happy to be here. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So for those people who've got this far, thank you for listening. This happens every Wednesday. And I have a plan this year to bring as many interesting people, guests come along. So please do look out, see if there's anybody who you want to come and talk to. Do chase up Suzan, say hi to Suzan. As you've heard, if you've got this far, there's some great ideas coming through Suzan's work. She will meet you where you are, so do come and go along and say hi to Suzan. But in the meantime, it's the end of the halftime huddle. I hope you've found some useful stuff out of here, and you've had a chance to take a little bit of a deep breath. If you want to come along, do say hi. But in the meantime, I hope your second half is your best half. So, and I will see you soon.